Hour number 2 of the lunch break here on a Football Friday. We will talk about Corbin Burns being the latest example of something here for the Arizona Diamondbacks, but how he is the outlier. That in about 15 minutes. But the Arizona Cardinals will play their season finale on Sunday when they take on the San Francisco 49ers. And I posed the question going into the last break, and that is, if they were to win on Sunday, if they were to end the season at 8-9, would that change how we should feel about this season? And I'm going to make the case of why it should or why it might, and then we can make the case on why it won't. And the case for why it won't is obviously easier to make, and then the case for why it should change how we feel about the season. But let's start with them winning on Sunday and why we should take that and it should change how we feel about this season. Because it would be an 8-9 season. It would see them, double their win total from a year ago? That would be thing number one that you could, because now that the season's over and the Cardinals will have finished 8-9, you can now zoom out and look at the whole picture. And what does the whole picture tell you? They went 8-9, doubling their win total from a year ago. Finished just one game below 500. With the win, it would be their 6th home win of the season. The first time they've done that since 2015. That's another thing that you would put into the case for why you should feel good about this season. They would have gone 3-3 in the division, a 500 record against NFC West opponents. And when you consider Kyler Murray's track record against NFC West opponents, that is a market improvement. 8-9, nearly an above 500 record, 6 home wins, first time you've done that since 2015, 3-3 against the division, and just barely missing out on the playoffs. That's the case for why you should look at this season, if they win on Sunday, and say, this was, I know it didn't end the way we wanted it to, but it changes how I feel. It was a good season. That's the case. There you go. Get to 8 wins, double your win total from a year ago, 6 home wins, first time since 2015, 3-3 against the division. Maybe Kyler Murray starting to turn the corner against his divisional opponents. You hope to follow that up with a good year in 2025. That's it. That's the case. And the opposite case is nothing that they can do on Sunday is going to change the fact that they went 1-5 leading into this game after the bye. They started the year 6-4. They ended the year 1-5, and they don't deserve to be let off the hook for that. That it should not be forgotten that they blew this opportunity. That this would be putting lipstick on a pig if you try to convince yourself that this was a good season. Because they started 6-4, and they went 1-5 going into this game. Now, if they lose on Sunday, that would be 1-6. And it would be 7-10 to finish the season. But if they win, it's 2-5 post-bye. So you would say they started 6-4. They went 2-5 after the bye. They were eliminated with 2 games to go in the regular season, and they completely collapsed down the stretch. They were 6-4 in first place in the division, and it turned around so quickly to where the last 2 games of the regular season they played didn't matter for them. Didn't matter. They were already eliminated before they stepped foot on the field against the Rams. So their last 2 games of the season, they were eliminated. They were out. They only played 15 meaningful football games. They started the year 6-4, 10 games in. And then in 5 games, it completely unraveled. That's a hard thing to overcome. It's hard to not look at this season, whatever happens on Sunday, and look at 6-4, and then either 7-10 or 8-9. That's a hard thing to overcome. And everything that I said about if you got to 8-9, that'd be a double win improvement. You double your win total from a year ago. 6 home games is something to be extremely proud of if they're going to try to turn State Farm Stadium into a home field advantage. And it's the first time they've done it in nearly a decade. 3-3 against the division is something really important. If this team is going to make headway in 2025, it is going to require them to win divisional contests. And so 3-3 is probably the floor that they need to hit next season. So to see them do that would be a good marker. It would be a good indicator of the future. All of those things can be true if they win on Sunday. And all of those things can be good silver linings, just like we did yesterday with ASU. We found the silver linings in a loss for the Sun Devils. The Sun Devils didn't have the cloud that is hanging over them the way the Cardinals have a cloud hanging over them, and that is you started the year 6-4. You got to your bye week in first place. The Sun Devils made a run late. Weren't supposed to be there, but checked every box. They were the Cinderella story of the Big 12. The Cardinals, you might want to call them a Cinderella story, but at some point you stop being the Cinderella. And when you are 6-4 and you are going into your bye week and you are in first place in the division and you control your own fate and you have the schedule that this team had in the second half, remember, how many times on this program did we tell you how easy the Cardinals schedule was post-bye? How many weeks did we come in here and say the Cardinals have one of, if not the easiest schedules the remainder of the way? Because they have the Panthers on the schedule. They have the Patriots on the schedule. They have a 49ers team that isn't very good. They get to play 2 games against the Seahawks, who are just a middle-of-the-road team. You should be able to at least split there. We did it. We played the win-loss game with that stretch of schedule over and over and over again to go through the different pathways to get this team into the playoffs. And when you got to 6-4, it was a pretty easy path. Beat the Panthers, beat the Patriots, split the 2 games with Seattle, and then find one other game. Minnesota, the Rams, the 49ers. Find one other game. And you get to 10 wins, and that's exactly where the Rams are sitting, and that's going to be good enough to get in. That's where they sat at 6-4. That can't be overlooked. That's not going to be forgotten about. The team going 1-5 down the stretch is going to overshadow all of the good silver linings that I have attempted to point out to you. Because a team, despite probably not, I don't want to say deserving, but talent-wise, shouldn't have been in that spot to be 6-4, they didn't take advantage of their opportunity. They didn't take advantage of a weak NFC West. They didn't take advantage of a 49ers team that was lost from the word go. They didn't take advantage of it. And so next year, if the 49ers are back, the Rams don't appear to be going anywhere anytime soon. The Seahawks are entering year 2 with Mike McDonald. You would expect them to get even better. Another year in that system. An offensive coordinator who was a rookie offensive coordinator now having a year under his belt. You expect them to be better. It's going to get a lot tougher, and the schedule doesn't help. You're playing a third-place schedule. You drew the Packers because of it instead of the Bears. It didn't get any easier than the way it panned out this year for this team. And so I can try to convince you that 8-9 is worthy of saying good season. I can tell you that going 3-3 in the division is worthy of saying this was a good season. This was an improvement. This was what this season probably was supposed to be. I can try to point to 6 home wins, and I can try to convince you of all of that. But this team has bigger aspirations than that. And this team had a chance to start those bigger aspirations. And the only reason why they didn't was not because of some injury or not because of some team got hot. It was because they unraveled post-bye. And when it is a self-inflicted unraveling, when it is because of your own mistakes and your own shortcomings, and it is because of Kyler Murray's poor play and the team's poor play overall, then that takes away from me trying to be able to find silver linings. Because guess what? Kyler Murray more than likely is going to be the quarterback under center, despite my objections to that. And I don't think they're going to make a ton of wholesale changes on the coaching staff, if any. And so they are going to run this back. So then it puts all the pressure in the world on Monty Ossenfort this offseason to fill the gaps, to increase the floor of this team, to improve the depth. That's where it puts all the pressure. And so if they win on Sunday, all of those things that I've listed will be true. And they are reasons to inspire optimism for what this team could be in the future. But this team, the 2024 Arizona Cardinals, are never going to shake the 1-5 post-bye stretch. They are never going to get out from underneath, blowing first place in the division in the year that the NFC West was having. The only way they get out from underneath this is by next year getting to double-digit wins, getting into the playoffs, and following up an 8-win season by getting into the postseason. That's it. That's the only way they get out from underneath the collapse in the second half. Because if anybody tries to convince themselves that it was nothing but a collapse, that it forced us to rehab the conversation about Kyler Murray, that it forced us to reevaluate where this team's floor and ceiling can be with him under center. That's what this stretch did. 6-4 feels like a lifetime ago. 6-4 feels like it didn't happen this season. Because we have spent more Mondays over the last couple of weeks breaking down losses and breaking down dumpster fires than we have the 6-4, 4 wins in a row. Do you remember that? Remember how great that felt coming in here talking about how the team was dominating? Defense was great. Offensive statistics were awesome. They were super efficient. They were doing everything that they were supposed to do. Yeah. Feels like a lifetime